Today on the Topping Show, Kamala Harris proposes taxing unrealized stock gains. The UK government is arresting citizens for bumper stickers that say things like it's okay to be white. California public librarian brags about being a biggest slut and promotes her OnlyFans. Minnesota crime is so bad that a car is stolen in front of a police officer who does nothing. The US government lied about the job growth, resulting in the biggest downward revision in 15 years. Ford puts the brakes on their EV SUV and delays an EV plant. Walmart sells their China-based e-commerce company, JD.com, for $3.6 billion, and GM recalls a Cadillac for the brakes. Well, they don't work at all. All of that and much more on The Topping Show. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Guy says he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going to the business part of the podcast, you have Ford putting the brakes on their EV SUV and delaying their EV plant as the demand dwindles more and more and more, and consumers shift more and more to hybrids as their preferred mode of transportation. Granted, those do have the side effect of making you feel like you're mostly dead inside, but some people do prefer it. Though, of course, there's me. Every car would have, what do they have? Well, at least 3 pedals, of course, manual transmission, maybe a V8 or a V10 or V12. That would truly make America great again, though I partially digress. This comes to us thanks to CNBC, specifically Michael Wayland, who is a writer over there. Though before we dive into that, this data caused their stock to jump a little bit by the news. Not dramatically, but 1.59%. Granted, by the time this video is rendered and uploaded, the stock will change because that's what the stock market does. Also, appreciate the comments and the feedbacks. I know I speak way too fast. It's how I've been my whole life. However, I am slowly but surely trying to get better on that. So if you click the subscribe button, it would help me with that endeavor, as I have a theory, the more people who subscribe, the better my speaking has become. It's been proven to be true thus far. Been a modicum of improvement. Some might argue just a little bit, but if you can click that button, again, I would greatly appreciate it as I continue to make the show better and better. Now, in terms of the stock going up, it went a little bit, about 1%. Earlier this week, it's gone up about 4%, but overall, not doing great. Still $10.85 per share. Didn't help that last fiscal quarter, they spent $800 million on warranty work to repair terrible vehicles that they manufactured. Now, in terms of 5-year stock, it's a little better than most, up 23.72%. 1 year, though, is down 9.36%. Year to date is down 10.77%. And 1 month, that's where the pain, 6 months, down 10.63% as well. 1 month, that's where the pain really starts to be applied. And again, I suspect partially because of that warranty work. Is down 23.16%. Though the dividend yield is still 5.53%, though again, not financial advice. Granted, if I was a magic genie, I would have invested in Tesla decades ago, but partially digress. Going back to the article, again by Michael Wayland, they say, quote, Ford delays new EV plant and cancels the €3 SUV as it shifts strategy. They say vehicle production at the new plant in Tennessee was initially expected to begin next year. The company said it expects to begin battery cell production at that site in 2025. Ford CFO John Lawler said the shifts are meant to deliver a capital-efficient, profitable EV business, which, again, Ford lost $132,000 per EV sold in fiscal Q2, which is better than $200K plus is earlier. So they're moving in the right direction, though they're still bleeding a lot of money. Thank God for the Ford F-150, 250, 350, Banana Falcon, whatever they call those trucks. That's where the real money and profit center for the business is, as well as the commercial products, which of course are just large gas and diesel trucks as well. And they still make the V8 stick shift Mustang, so it makes me smile just knowing that they're still dedicated to the sports car. Now they say, quote, and again, reading the room right, Toyota was smart. They were the ones who said this EV thing is people are going all the way all to in. We're going to go invest in hybrid technologies. They're the only company that didn't cower and acquiesce to the big trend of EVs and the government bullying them as much. Because again, Toyota invested more in hybrid technologies than any of those businesses. Guess who is copying them? All the automotive companies are copying Toyota's methodology. And spoiler alert, that's partially what this article is about. Now, they say, quote, Instead, Ford said it will be prioritizing the development of hybrid vehicles as well as electrical commercial vehicles. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, it's not supposed to be a joke. As such as the new electric commercial van in 2026, following 2 EV pickups in 2027. The pickups are expected to be full size and will be produced in 2027 at the Tennessee plant under the that's currently under construction, with a new mid-size truck developed by specialized Skunk Works team in California, which that's just a ripoff of Lockheed Martin, which is perhaps the most successful aerospace defense contractor since the dawn of time. Now, Ford CEO John Lawler also said, quote, as we've learned in the market space, we've seen where people have gravitated, and we're going to focus on where we have competitive advantage, and that's on the commercial land trucks and SUVs, which is true. That's where they really thrive. That's where they're making a lot of their capital. Ford Blue is making a lot of money, which again, Ford Blue is a traditional Ford company with good old Ford F-150 with gas engine, good Ford Mustang with gas engine and a stick shift. Then you have the Ford Commercial, which again, are the big commercial vehicles. And then you have the Ford EV division, which is still bleeding money. It's not doing great. They say that this new vehicle production facility is going to be a $5.6 billion site in Tennessee. And this is coming as news as they've had decreasing rate of adoption and sales in the EV products that they've been selling thus far. So good news for Ford investors and hopefully for Ford employees as they're looking to expand the company into profitable parts of the business and try to move the company in the right direction. Because again, well, especially right now, to me, I think EVs are just a very nice luxury for, I wouldn't consider it a nice luxury because, well, again, only 2 pedals. But for many people, it's just a nice luxury to have because infrastructure isn't blown out, and good luck with that battery replacement in 10 years. Whereas, yeah, good old nice Honda Civic Si, that engine will last darn near 300 plus 1,000 miles. And if it goes bad, heaven forbid, go to the scrapyard or engine yard and get a new engine for a couple hundred or a couple $1,000. As opposed to batteries, which again cost about 40 to 50% of the value of the car. So to me, that's one of the biggest detriments to the EV adoption rate in the United States is that battery cost, which again, with technology, we may very well see in our lifetime to the price point it gets down to basically relatively nothing. It's not inconceivable, but I'm a little skeptical, especially in the next couple of years. But perhaps maybe I'm reading the room wrong, and maybe the industry is moving in the wrong direction. Let me know in the comments. Would you, if you had to buy a vehicle right now, what would you buy? Would you buy a good old gas engine, even with a stick shift? Would you buy a hybrid, or would you buy an EV? Let me know in the comments, because as always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, you have Walmart selling their Chinese e-commerce company JD.com for $3.6 billion, which is probably pretty penny to say the least. Well, I should clarify, a vintage pretty penny, which is mostly copper, whereas now modern pennies, perhaps a good metaphor for the US government, are 99.99% zinc and simply copper plated. Coin pun. You don't see those very often. Now, this comes to us thanks to Yahoo Finance, the original search engine from back in the day, which actually used to be bigger than Google, as crazy as that may seem. Pull it up here. It also looks like a collaboration in Reuters. They say, quote, Walmart unwinds JD.com investment to focus on its own Chinese operations. And there you can see the iconic Walmart logo on one of their stores. This comes from Kenzu and Summer Zhen over in Hong Kong. They say, quote, Walmart sold its roughly entirely $3.7 billion stake in JD.com, ending the 8-year investment into the Chinese e-commerce firm that was yielded waning returns. And the U.S. retail giant said it would focus on its own operations in China. Or honestly, let's be honest, every time you see that word or hear that word, have to think how many in our heads are just hearing it as China. Perhaps one of Trump's best branding moments. But they say, quote, the move comes as competition for online shoppers' money in China has led to steep discounts from companies including JD.com as well as Alibaba, which has squeezed their margins. Now, this comes from Walmart in a statement. They say, quote, this decision allows us to focus on our strong Chinese operations for Walmart and Sam's Club and deploy capital towards other priorities. Adding they committed to a continued commercial relationship with the Chinese company, which carries Walmart goods on its website. Walmart had invested in JD.com in 2016 by selling its Chinese grocery store to Yino Handan to JD.com, which returned a 5% stake in JD.com itself. In the same year, Walmart raised its holdings in JD.com to more than 10%. Now, in terms of stock crashing terribly, again, not financial advice, so I'm not sure how many people are, trading on the Chinese stock market, but nevertheless, say, quote, shares of JD.com have fallen around 70% of their peak in nearly 2021, and prices are close to levels of 2016. You also know that sales are mostly stagnated after the pandemic, as shoppers went to other low-cost rival Now, this is definitely a local one in China called Pinduoduo, Pinduaduo. There's like a 1% chance I pronounced it right, probably, give or take. They say that the U.S. retailer share sale was fully subscribed as a person familiar with the matter told Reuters earlier this week, and would be worth about $3.74 billion at the top of the earnings, which makes sense. And especially, yeah, if I was Walmart, I mean, shoot, one of the most valuable things in business is the name Walmart. I mean, especially when again they didn't own this e-commerce platform, it makes sense for them to spin it off eventually and just take all that resource allocation, take those billions and put into just the Walmart name is again in their own operations over there. So not too surprising. And it'll be interesting to see how much they can keep growing as North America is still one of the largest markets for most retailers, especially Walmart. But how much opportunity is there in China where there's more competition? And how will Walmart be able to build out their e-commerce platform, which is growing and actually is starting to make a profit? Though, anecdotally speaking, I only know one person who's ever used Walmart.com, with the exclusion of, I know some friends order groceries. I have one person I know who bought a product, like a durable product, which was myself, which the earpiece was broken, but they returned it. So it was an interesting experience. But let me know, do you know anyone actually who uses Walmart.com? Do you think that's the best way for them to go? Or do you think they should have kept that local name, or rather continue to work with this local company and invested their resources and just buy a bigger stake of that company, maybe eventually overtake the operations, but keep the brand? Let me know in the comments, because as always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the culture part of the podcast, you have a California public librarian bragging about being the biggest slut and promoting her OnlyFans, which I guess it is California. I don't think it's kind of funny. I don't think anyone's surprised by this type of behavior, even though again it's a a librarian, which she's dressed very promiscuously. But I'll let you judge for yourself. I'll go ahead and I'll pull up here. This comes to us thanks to good old Libs of TikTok. She says, quote, meet Yesenia Villar, a librarian at Francis Howard Goldwyn Regional Public Library in California. Yesenia brags about being the, quote, biggest slut in the library, where she films sexually suggested videos. She then shares them on social media where she promotes her OnlyFans page. Our tax dollars pay her salary. How's this okay? I mean, in terms of the culture of California and most of the depravity there, it seems on brand for them. I'm actually the only thing that's not surprising, I guess, is that she's not doing this in front of children, which is the culture in many areas of California, which is obviously mentally and morally vacuous to say the least. And it looks like, well, it's probably terrible audio or some type of song that would might hurt our earballs, so to say, but we'll see. And then YouTube might take out the song. We'll see. We'll see what the little video is. Is there any sound at all? Oh, there we go. Now I can see her in her outfit.
I have on no outfit when I'm waiting for you. In the wings, intelligence is loose like a
Intelligence is loose or lacking. I'll rewind it so you can hear what she's actually attempting to say.
This is loose like I'm a blind thing. Your burrowed wet lips are telling me a number. 1 by Elaine Kahn.
That sounds like a crappy lipstick commercial.
Waiting for you.
So she's wearing what looks like to be a slutty outfit for librarian. She's wearing some heels, so at least she's putting some effort into her outfit. That's mostly vacuous these days, so at least she's doing something. But as she has a short, what are those, pantyhose? And she got a skirt. I don't even know what you call that, like a t-shirt that goes to her elbows, and some type of weird looking lazy tie with 3 straps. Fascinatingly enough, she does not have pink or blue hair, though it is relatively short. It's a little bit above her shoulder. And at least she has the cliche librarian glasses, so she has some branding there. Oh dear God. I should have done a warning. Hopefully no kids are tuned in this segment of the show. But you can see here, I don't know what's more offensive. She's got a bondage gear on? I mean, she's covering up, I guess, what we consider the naughty bits in terms of like what would get censored on regular primetime TV. And she also has like Elton John glasses on and lipstick, dark red lipstick. And she's out. And keep in mind, she's out in public with this. This looks like she's actually outside, and she has a pin. Also, I'd be fascinated to know who's making this pin and selling these pins, or do they just hand them out at the library for free? Again, Illinois, California, to unfortunately the children there. The pin literally says biggest slut at the public library. So she's bragging about her promiscuity and how easy she is. Fascinating what they value over there. Now, my moderately value got about 100,000 views and 1.7 thousand likes. My first comments comes from Gunther Eagleman, who says, quote, sickening, keep that shit at home where it belongs, getting 151 likes. AKA says, what is wrong with people, getting 43 likes. Planet of Meme says, this person should probably be fired, getting 6 likes. Now, that being said, it'd be, how would that work legally speaking? Because you're a government employee, so you have more protection than the private sector in regards to the Bill of Rights and your freedom of speech. You're also a librarian and doing inappropriate things where most people, with a modicum of intelligence, I would argue, would say this is not work appropriate. You're also technically working on the job using government entities or government assets to create a second dual income. Because again, she's using the public library to promote her business. Or would that be okay? I mean, her tax, well, I don't know if she actually pays taxes, but I mean, her taxes do pay for part of that library too. And clearly has no class, but I wonder how it would work out legally if anyone tries to actually get her fired. Cool Christian Engineer says, women, you have the picture of the pink-haired cliche woman in his cartoon. It says, women are not, a woman is not a commodity. Then you have a picture of that same girl smiling in the bedroom. It says, subscribe to my OnlyFans for only $6.99 a month. Getting 128 likes, which, yeah, that is funny, the hypocrisy. Also, Tech Daddy says, it would be a real shame if the Los Angeles Public Library saw this and fired this person. 19 likes. Now, it's funny because knowing the California culture and the California public entities, if anything, they'll probably give her a raise and call her brave. I mean, let me know in the comments. Do you think she'd actually get fired for this? I'm pretty skeptical. Moderate to Severe says, quote, what's the slut competition look like at the library? Really, how hard is it to be number one? Fair. That's a fair question. There's 24 likes for that one. I mean, it's kind of cliche to say, but, you know, back in my day, most librarians were elderly, nice ladies, and they, you know, dressed properly. I mean, in the real world, how many, that'd be a fascinating statistic. How many, like, traditionally attractive women are there in librarian roles in the United States? Like 2%, 3%? What does that market look like? Livercat Media TM says, quote, these people are sick, and as a kid throwing out the rainbow saying, leave the kids alone, getting 98 likes, one of the most top ones. Masculine Base says, hey women, it's a tweet by Gia McCool, saying 99% of women underestimate the power of making her husband a sandwich and delivering them in a sundress. Fact check true, getting 72 likes. Well, it's never been easier. I mean, be a wife, thanks to the low carb diet, most guys don't even eat sandwiches these days. Steven Steele says, geez, should, what kind of grammar is this? He could be at least hot. Getting 48 likes. Grammar be damned. So mostly people roasting her. Although, shoot, I don't know how much she's getting paid on that website. Maybe she's making hundreds of thousands of dollars. But yeah, in terms of ramifications, I wonder. I mean, we've seen public police officers who have lost their job because of those types of similar actions where they're using their police uniform and they're using police assets to promote their OnlyFans, those types of things when you have gals in that role. Now, again, in terms of this role, I mean, I don't think there's technically a library uniform per se. And I don't see a logo for the library in it in terms of intellectual property. I mean, I don't think those actually go to court, but let me know. Do you think if it actually does go to court, do you think anything would happen in terms of would she lose her job? Or would it be more or less the same and just give her a slap on the wrist? Although now that I say that, she might be into it. So, although it's 2024, can't judge, of course. But let me know in the comments, as always. Be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news: the crime in Minnesota is so bad, you have someone steal a car in front of a police officer, and yeah, the police officer does nothing. Again, click that subscribe button to help with my speaking ineptitudes, and someday I will get through a whole episode speaking completely articulately. A tall order, some might argue. However, gotta have goals in life. So, if you do me a favor and click that button, I'd greatly appreciate it. Or give me a thumbs down and throw something in the comments. Let me know I can do better. Now, this comes to us thanks to End Wokeness on the good old X-Twitter, in which he specifically says, quote, car theft in the background while a cop is discussing car thefts in Minnesota. Which, talk about, what is it, the meta? Come full circle. Now, at least to give the police officer, not much, but a modicum of credit, he's at least in shape. His belly is not touching the steering wheel, and it looks like he has the physical capabilities to actually catch, I believe they call him a perp. So he could actually do the job. And again, I'm not saying 99% police officers can't. I'm just saying it is pretty ridiculous how some unions just have it so there's no physical requirements. And I mean, it's cliche even when I was a kid. You can outrun a lot of cops. Not all of them, but it's a thing. Now, this comes to us. It looks like it was actually first recorded by CBS News in Minnesota. Without too much further ado.
Sometimes they leave cell phones, receipts.
That's a kid?
Yeah, that's a stolen car.
Kids speeding past the deputies assigned to stopping this very act. In this case, Sergeant Vi could not follow for our safety.
Sometimes they leave
Safety? I thought your job was to be a police officer to stop crime. Well, I can't do that. I can't stop crime. It's because of safety. Ridiculous. And I know there are different methodologies in terms of some police units in some cities do not want them doing like a high-speed pursuit on highways, which, again, there are many... a wise man once said by the name of Thomas Sowell once said there's no such thing as solutions, only trade-offs. And I can understand in terms of the highway chases, you know, they say just let them go and they'll catch them on the next exit. That could be a debate for another time, perhaps. But yeah, just letting the rapid crime go free. It is kind of funny. It was a... I thought they said it was a Kia when they said it was a kid. It was also... It looks like it's a Kia. Which, I mean, not to be an elitist in terms of, like, why would you ever steal that? But, I mean, the little... Looks like a Kia SUV, which... Back in the day, it used to be cool. They actually used to have stick-shift SUVs from Kia, which is a cool thing. I mean, this is just a regular silver SUV. And, again, how emboldened are these criminals where they're just, again, this is like a not a main street, but a sub street. They're driving pretty darn fast right past police. It looks like there's like a accomplice behind him too. Like, most people intuitively, when they see the police, would slow down safely. Like, how brazen is that? They're just, oh yeah, we're just going to keep on going. Perhaps because they know there will be no negative ramifications in the dystopian nightmare that has become Minnesota. Yeah. You know a country or state's been conquered when their flag is changed too. Was it 2 or 3 months ago? They changed the flag so it looks like a rudimentary ripoff of the Somalian flag to better reflect their culture there, or the populace. Now, but moderately valid got about 225,000 views and 4.6 thousand likes. The first like or comments coming from Paul Zupa, who says, quote, Tim Walz has enabled this by going soft on crime and sympathizing with violent criminals instead of prosecuting them, getting 60 likes. Which, true, yeah. Can't help but notice, and again, you wouldn't do it in America, but like places like Saudi Arabia where they are really, really, really tough on crime, or places like, oh shoot, anywhere, Middle East, where is that, Dubai? There's not a lot of crime in Dubai. Partially because they go pretty extreme when you do it. So, it's worked. Now, you also have Planet of Memes, but no meme. But nevertheless, they did say something. Planet of Memes says, soft on crime policy, lead to more crime, getting 30 likes, which, true, look at San Francisco. They voted, again, you get what you vote for. In that case, they actually voted to make it so it's no longer a felony to steal up to $950. So it's now a misdemeanor. And the way the justice system works on average is plea down. So that's why there's so much more crime in San Francisco and California these days. Well, they voted for mechanisms and policies that would enable it. You have Nick Sorter saying, welcome to Walls, Minnesota, getting 328 likes. Jenna Zill says this was in Minnesota over the Governor Tim Walz. It's a picture of Minnesota burning during the good old George Floyd Summer of Love peace protest. Hitting his riots with over $2 billion in damages and dozens of people who actually died. Did get 26 likes. Let's see. Traffic ticket violation. Wow. The Liberty Pill memes and says greatest traffic ticket ever. Trying to see if they actually said the location here. They say remarks. Instead of pulling over, pulled into the McDonald's drive-thru and began ordering. This is apparently someone who is speeding. Wow. Interesting. I got 37 likes. Let's see here. Frank Deshusen says, quote, based on the women's headscarf, that's likely a Somalian community in Minnesota where kids, according to the local media, are committing crime, so much crime. Looks like there's an article that says Little Mogadishu on the Mississippi. Minnesota Somali Americans strive to free their community from violence, getting 21 likes. Travis says this must be the joy Kamala talks about, getting 59 likes. Livercat Media TM says unreal. It's a picture of the infamous book by George Orwell, that's 1984, says this was supposed to be meant to be a warning, not a guide, unquote. Getting 53 likes. So, yeah, it looks like the state of culture is not great in Minnesota. And, I mean, I'm not sure what's going to change because, oh, it's a pretty good meme. One more. This is from Wireman. It says it's not even Minnesota anymore. It's I forget what movie it is with Tom Hanks. We have the pirates come on the ship. It says, "Look at me." I can't do some accents. Actually, didn't even see the movie either. But nevertheless, just I'll try. "Look at me. I'm Minnesota now." Yeah, 31 likes, and perhaps the worst Somalian accent you've heard in the past 10 years. Probably. Perhaps. I'll say one more. I'll do one more. So Littercat Media Tim says which way? It says Tim Walz and Kamala Harris says America last, and then juxtaposition to the other path is Donald Trump as well as J.D. Vance says America first, getting 66 likes. So, definitely not a good place to live, and hopefully people are able to leave and get out of that hellhole soon. But yeah, in terms of the culture of Minnesota, it's definitely on the decline. I don't know if some people I know who live closer to over there, it's quickly surpassing Chicago and Detroit in terms of crime and just a terrible place to live, especially Minneapolis. But let me know, especially if you're local in Minnesota, is this a thing you see with high frequency? Is this maybe just seemingly an increasing amount of anecdotal evidence? Let me know in the comments. As always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, Kamala Harris proposing to tax unrealized gains on stocks to destroy the market and our lives and further just destroy everything. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Farzad, who's a writer, a poster on the good old X Twitter, which he says, quote, Kamala is, well, that's no, I was going to say no commas makes it a little bit more difficult. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 10 million %. That's quite a big percent. So he says, quote, Kamala Harris is 10 million % proposing taxing unrealized capital gains. This looks like it's a proposal on page 82. Says, quote, the proposal would impose a minimum tax rate of 25% on total income, generally inclusive of unrealized capital gains for all taxpayers with wealth, quote unquote. That is the difference obtained by subtracting liabilities to assets greater than 100 million. Under this proposal, taxpayers would choose to pay the first year of minimum tax liability in 9 equal annual installments. For subsequent years, taxpayers would choose to pay minimum tax imposed for those years, not including installment payments due in that year, in 5 equal annual installments. The taxpayer's minimum tax liability would equal the minimum tax rate, that is 25% times the sum of the taxable income and unrealized gains, including the ordinary assets of the taxpayer, less than the sum of the taxpayer's unfunded, uncredited prepaid and regular taxes. Payments of the minimum tax would be treated as pre-payable available and credited against subsequent taxes on unrealized capital gains in amount to avoid taxing the same amount of gain more than once. The amount of taxpayers' uncredited prepayments would equal the cumulative minimum tax. It's a very long political way of saying you're going to get screwed pretty bad. Because again, they're saying, oh yeah, greater than 100 million. I'd love to someone give me an example. I challenge the comment section. Name one time in history when the government has ever proposed a tax that hasn't gotten fatter, bigger, and just attacked more Americans, and well, more accurately, robbed more Americans. I mean, one of the best examples of government hypocrisy, or more accurate, lies. When I grew up in the Midwest, it was not toll tag or the iPass. There was a highway going through Illinois and Chicago, and they said, hey, there's a toll tag. That was the old thing you used to use up there. And they said, hey, you know what? We're going to construct this highway, but we promise as soon as it's constructed, there won't be any taxes. As soon as it pays for itself. And then they said, oh, we're just going to keep it for an extra year. That's over a decade ago, and they're still taxing people for that stuff. And spoiler alert, if you're out of state visiting family, it's $25 per toll. Now, you can, of course, pay with pennies. I have done that just for spite, because it's Illinois. And yeah, this will 100% affect everyone. They're saying, oh yeah, $100 million. They will make it affect everyone. It's also a perverse incentive. You're taxing something that doesn't exist in terms of, I mean, yeah, if you're not in the stock market, and this is financial advice, but just rudimentary speaking, unrealized gains simply says you bought a stock for $5. So you have $5 in your pocket. And actually, we'll just do $5. So you got $5 in your pocket, you put in you invest in a company. That company goes up by a couple bucks. Well, now you have to pay a tax on that. But what money do you have? You just put your money into the stock market to invest in a business and grow your wealth over time, and hopefully to not rely on inept things like Social Security that who knows how long that will be around anyway, with government ineptitudes of destroying that program as well. So they're going to tax you on wealth that doesn't really exist. You haven't realized the gains. It's unrealized. You haven't sold it. This would destroy so much investments. I mean, so many people are going to move out of the stock market and not invest in businesses. And it'll be interesting to see if this starts to affect hedge funds, 401ks, because the majority of Americans do have some form of 401k, and how much this ripple effect just goes around the whole investing community. I mean, this is detrimental, terrible news. Not just the stock market, but also the average American. And it will get to the point where, if they pass this, mark my word, it'll get to the point where they just want to tax unrealized gains up to $5. Again, that's what the government does every time. I don't care. I mean, more often than not, the people who do these types of taxes are usually left-leaning, but who's in the government, you just can't see over time. More often than not, our taxes keep going up. Very few times in history the tax is actually being cut. I would love that, so I really hope they help us out a lot. But yeah, this would be detrimental. This should be on every newspaper. Well, I guess realistically these days, every social media instance. But again, we also shouldn't be surprised when the same communist who wants to control prices of food, which is mentally vacuous evil, has never worked in history. It actually has the opposite effect. As well as say, oh yeah, we're trying to give you money if you want to buy a house. I mean, there's a reason Kamala is trending on the social Twitter or the social networks lately. So a lot of these policies, straight out of that book. Now this went not as viral as it should. Got a little over 400,000 views and 7.3 thousand likes. Now, one of the first comments comes from Farsad. He said, here's a source. It's the home of the U.S. Treasury Department. So it's a .gov source. He also says, this is truly unbelievable. Getting 277 likes. Now, Eric Muscati says, what other solution are you proposing? Yeah, I got 6 likes. He responded, not that one, getting 182. Speaking of 183 likes. Daniel Hicks says, it's only for people over 100 million. Yeah, just like the COVID lockdowns are only supposed to last 2 weeks. Always the same blueprint to psyop the masses. Yep, let's make that 168 likes. Old Miss Mars Cadillac says, horrible proposal, getting 122 likes. Barrett Hallforth says, quote, any retail investor who votes for Harris is experiencing some kind of self-hatred. Taxing unrealized capital gains will destroy the middle class and send the American economy into a Great Depression. Getting 82 likes. That'd almost be impressive if they can actually destroy the economy more than they have. Don't get me wrong. Statistically speaking, they absolutely can, and there's policies will. Almost an impressive in some way, perverse way. Another good ratio. John Hall says, but it's only for those with a net worth of over 100 million. Got 41 likes. However, Prasad says, quote, okay, so when a majority of the stock market decides to sell their shares because the U.S. has an insane tax laws and unrealized gains, the little guys like you and me get absolutely screwed. Brilliant job. Getting 329. Let's make it 330 likes. Because, yep. Just like how California keeps losing millionaires and people who are successful to other states because they keep increasing the sales tax or the income tax over there. It's like 13% now. Can't imagine, I mean, heartbreaking to think of every dollar we earn, how much is really ours at the end of the day between all the taxes we pay. We've got state tax, federal tax, you got sales tax, you got electricity tax, water tax, telecom tax, alcohol tax, tobacco tax, gasoline tax. I mean, it's depressing of that every dollar we earn, how little of it is actually ours. But yeah, California said to increase those taxes to make up for the people who are leaving, very similar to New York. You also have, scroll down more and more. Dana Gatesford says, it would destroy her chances if this were true. This is a 2023 proposal, but her desires on paper, but in application, hopefully she's smart enough to leave that page on 82 of a failed proposal. Vote. Got 5 likes. However, Prasad says the 2024 proposal has the exact same verbiage, getting 52 likes. 53 just increased that ratio. Let's see here. Fishbone says, once people understand this, he will basically have sealed her loss in the election. 31 likes, but I don't think so. There are a lot of people on the left and right who are not educated voters. They're just going to vote because there's a D next to her name, as there's an R next to Trump. There are people who just vote the party line. There are some people who think Marxism and communism is going to work. They're mentally vacuous. They never read a history book or visited a third world country that has enacted those policies. But nevertheless, those people do, unfortunately, they live in America. We also have Penny 2X says this is why I'm voting for Trump, getting 31 likes. Erica Rich says Kamala is a communist. This is undeniable, getting 68. I get 69 likes. So thankfully, most people in the comments are in agreement that this is a terrible thing and it would inevitably mean to greater expansion of the taxes, and it would go after everyone who invests in the stock market. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you've ever heard of a single tax or anything being rolled back in U.S. history. I know it happened under Reagan, happened a little bit under Trump, but on average, really exceedingly rare. And yet another example of a terrible, terrible policy that Kamala Harris wants to enact that, again, would destroy a lot. But let me know in the comments, do you think the average person will just think, oh yeah, go after those rich guys. It'll never go after me. Let me know in the comments, because as always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, the UK government is arresting citizens for bumper stickers, some for simply saying it's okay to be white. Which, yet another, again, we didn't need one, but yet another reason not to live in the UK. This is reason I believe, 9,758,445,323 reason not to live in the UK, where they also have no rights for free speech, or yet alone the Second Amendment, or freedom to actually defend yourself and your family. It's capital of tyranny. I think it was an accurate description. Now this just comes to us thanks to Aaron Sabarian, who's over on the good old X Twitter, in which he says, quote, how bad are hate laws in the UK? Saying it's okay to be white can result in harsher sentences than... Okay, cover your ears if you have children listening. This is a most inappropriate thing and most emotionally disgusting thing someone could do. Hopefully get him out of the room now. But so he says, quote, how bad are hate speech laws in the UK? Saying it's okay to be white can result in harsher sentences than child pornography. Applicable for words found numerous cases in the UK which judges have jailed thought criminals while letting actual criminals off the hook. This is shocking. I mean, not really shocking. We know how evil they are. This has been happening for a couple of weeks. It's just disappointing, I think, is a more accurate term. Now, this is a little highlights here. It says, quote, indeed, the British courts evaluate the mental state of the defendant, which includes punishing perceived right-leaning thoughts even harsher than behaviors associated with child predators. Earlier this year, Samuel Molina printed and distributed stickers that the Crown Prosecution Services described as expression views of nationalist nature. Which, again, you're supposed to be proud of your country. At least it used to be back in the day. I'll get back to the quote. And with the intent to stir up racial hatred. Pretty sure that's what the government does. They say, quote, the stickers had phrases like, it's okay to be white, reject white guilt, and they seek conquest, not asylum. Judge Tom said the publication of this kind of material is corrosive to our society, further telling millennia that I'm sure, quote, I'm quite sure that the mindset is of that of a racist and white supremacist. Bayless sentenced Molina in 2 years in prison. In 2017, Bayless spared a man from jail who possessed child content, inappropriate child animal content, stating, I don't pretend for one moment to know what possesses someone like you to get sexual pleasure from watching these children as young as 3 or 6 of being ultimately abused in the worst possible way. Bias then illuminated a 2-tier framework for responsibility. A white supremacist is guilt for holding that mindset, but a pedo who watched television abuse and had possession of the content by some nebulous external force. It's not their fault, in other words. Again, get the hell out of that place. I mean, the food is already terrible. It's been a joke since the dawn of time. Granted, if you're a dentist, you can make a killing selling them dental packages and braces. I understand the upside from a business perspective of something like that over there. But, yeah, this is horrifying. They got 7.6 million views and 15,000 likes. Now, he continued to say, quote, Judge Benedict Kelleher sentenced a man in 18 months for chanting, who the F is Allah. He gave a lighter sentence to a man who physically assaulted an officer. Which, again, not surprising anymore. They got 3.1 thousand likes. Then says John Temperley gave a man 12 weeks in prison for a racist Facebook post. He did not impose any prison time on a man who had 46 indecent images of children. Dude, F the UK. Who the hell wants to live in that hellhole? It also shows what they prioritize in terms of justice and what they accept. Which, of all the crimes to go after, the ones that I can't believe this is a controversial thing to say. I mean, there are some in the U.S. who want them to get off scot-free, but of all the crimes of punishment, I mean, people who hurt the kids, they should be completely ostracized from society, and with the high propensity of actually hurting the child again, I think judges should have the authority to legally give them the death sentence. And yet, here they just go, oh yeah, get off scot-free. Aaron also says, quote, an incendiary Facebook comment earned a man 20 months in prison, in part because the lack of privacy setting was taken as evidence of an incitement, but AK images of a child being abused, and again, I'm trying to change the vernacular so it's moderately family appropriate. That only get you 6 months sentence by Judge Curl. Wow. Another one was Judge Rupert Lowe sentenced a man to 9 months in jail for shouting racist comments at a football game. Lowe gave no jail time for a doctor who... What? A doctor who did his pleasure happy business time into a cup of coffee and gave that cup to a woman. Again, are you seeing a trend about who they don't give a damn? They don't give a damn about citizens or women in the UK. Because again, those are the crimes that are allowed. There are children in the. It's disgusting. Now, thankfully, this went pretty viral, and hopefully, people in the UK vote dramatically differently, or move. Now, go down to the major comment section. You have Checkmark Prime, who says, quote, when exactly did the UK become a failed state? Unquote, getting 483 likes. Quite some time. It is fascinating to think we used to have such a regard for them just because of a cliche. Well, yeah, the James Bond cliche. But they used to make. If I won the lottery, I'd love to get an Aston Martin, get a V12 with a stick shift. It's a beautiful piece of handmade British engineering. But yeah, these days, what does the country come to? You also have crazy moments. He has a picture of Trump and Elon. On Trump, the text says hated for exposing the truth, and Elon says hated for letting the truth be told. Getting 300 likes. See here. Peligio the Hatred said, Abigail, when you lift the research of the entire thread back to the front, generally customary to hat tip. I've been tracking this guys for a year now. There's a picture of the kids have been hurt. Getting 751 likes. Crazy Moment says UK soon has looks like SWAT officers or special officers, and they all have the UK flag on them. They're going up to a civilian's house and says, we saw your meme, step outside. 895 likes. That's actually not happening in UK soon. It's happening in UK now. They're being jailed for Facebook memes and tweets. Ridiculous. Here. Rebecca also says they're letting murderers out of jail to make room for those they say they don't approve of. True. They say, quote, amid prison overcrowding, the conservatives began early releases prior to the election, and the new Labour government confirming they would continue to amid prison crisis. It says new killer of Gordon Galt in Newcastle to be freed early from prison. 198 likes. Jeremy Collar says this makes me want to this makes me really want to do a UK release my book under the original It's Okay to Be White just to see what happens. 544 likes. He'd probably be in prison today. One who bought it would be probably as well. Hal Stroessman and Son says the U.S. should leave NATO. One American would want to fight for those totalitarians. Good point. Let's make it 532 likes. Yeah, why should we defend these tyrannical countries? They're literally arresting civilians for posting their beliefs. Their God-given right for free speech. Do you want your tax dollars supporting that? Would you go overseas and fight for them? I certainly wouldn't. Here. Yeah, there are any contrarian statements. You have Dangerous Thoughts saying Soviet Britannica or Britain has reached the zenith of censorship approach, getting 84 likes. True. Here. A Moment in Time says, not forgetting Isabella Vaughn Spruce, a Christian conservative volunteer who was arrested for silently praying inside her head in the vicinity of an abortion clinic. He recently received a payout of £13,000 and an apology from police for breaching her human rights. Getting 88 likes. I'm surprised she got anything at all. I'm surprised they didn't throw her in jail for decades. Of course, if you peacefully pray outside an abortion clinic in the U.S., they show up with 6 SWAT cars with guns drawn to steal the husband from the family. That's those dark humor. It's sad that it actually did happen in the United States. It also shows the resource allocation of what the government in the U.S. is focusing on as well. John Wallen says human rights violation, getting 66 likes. The good old UK. Let's see. Do one more. Miss Rusticus says, quote, a Marxist system is recognized by the fact that it spares the criminals and criminalizes political opponents. As a quote, I believe and I'm going to butcher this name, not intentionally, Solzhenitsyn. They got 208 likes. And yet another reason not to visit the UK. And thankfully, people have been trolling the hashtag on Twitter, the UK.gov, including myself, pretty frequently. It's, yeah, it's the least we can do. But let me know, did you realize it's gotten this bad in the UK? Do you think people will change their vacation plans? Do you think people will try to escape the UK? Let me know in the comments, because as always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Well, they're doing their largest downward revision in 15 years. fascinating how every time there's a mistake with government statistics or pretty much anything in regards to government reporting, it always errs on the side of making the government look good. Oh yeah, it's not coincidence they just want to get even more money for being inept or corrupt. A little column A, a little column B. Now this comes to us thanks to and wokeness on the good old X Twitter, which he says, quote, share this with your friends and relatives who get their news from the mainstream media. And this says, quote, the Bureau of Labor Statistics just made their largest downward revision in job numbers in 15 years. Total jobs, they're decreasing 818,000. About a large margin of error. Oh yeah, you think Bob in accounting, or in this case, the Bureau of Statistics, how off were we with the job creation? It was a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand. In total, 818,000. In manufacturing specifically, 115,000. Trade, transportation, utilities down 104,000. Professional and business services down 358,000. Leisure and hospitality down 150,000. Which, again, anecdotally speaking, just based on my interactions with people on LinkedIn, which I own a small business and I'm in sales as well, so I'm on that platform quite frequently. Yeah, this kind of makes a little bit more sense when I'm looking at the landscape and seeing how many not job openings they are, but rather how many people are open to work. When you look at their profile, they actually have a little banner that kind of lets people know that they're looking for a new role. And we're seeing more and more of those. And when I'm trying to help people who find new jobs, those postings are down dramatically across pretty much all industries. Now, this little infographic continues saying, quote, meanwhile, 1.2 million native-born Americans lost employment over the last year, while 1.3 million foreign-born workers found jobs. This is your, quote, record job growth that Kamala and Biden would love to talk about. Now, disappointingly enough, it only got 331,000 views as well as 9,000 likes, which, again, I can't imagine being off by almost 1 million jobs. And guess what? 99.99999982735% chance, whoever messed up on all these statistics, their job's guaranteed. They won't get fired. The amount of times people get fired from government jobs, you can probably count on one hand. It's that rare. Now, going to the top comments, one of the first ones comes from Gunther Eagleman, who says, quote, 81 million votes and 818,000 jobs, all lies from the corrupt government. You also have Craig Chamberlain, who says, quote, the jobs are also still haven't reached pre-pandemic levels. It looks like he has I don't know how hard, kind of see it pulled up on the screen so you can expand some of these infographics or these right here. You say total non-farming down 818. Got a couple graphs here. It says job growth under Biden still not back to pre-pandemic levels. Then you have a little chart that, and again, I understand a little bit because the chart has both Trump tenure as well as Biden tenure. And yeah, the pandemic would crash the jobs for a while, and growth is going up, but yeah, still not at that old growth rate. Which again, even if Trump gets in office, I'm not, even with a lot of deregulation. I mean, one of the biggest issues right now at job creation is the government ineptitudes from left and the right, with printing more money that's ever been printed before and causing ridiculous inflation and high interest rates, which you need the high interest rates to tap down on the inflation. So again, a lot of businesses, we're getting nearly free cash from the banks and the financial institutions that they're able to throw into research and development, hiring new employees. And those days are long gone. I'm pretty concerned. How do we get that? How do you reignite that job engine? Paul Zupa also says they'll just find some ways to wrongly blame Trump for this, getting 35 likes. Oh, do you have a contrarian statement? Only got 2 likes, but nevertheless, Franklin says, quote, I think I follow her. I hope so. She's more on the left. I want to. Yeah, echo chambers get boring. Okay, yeah. So I follow her. She describes her profile as quote, Harris 24. She says, quote, Trump also had revisions when he was president, getting 2 likes. One of the first ones comes from, let's see here. Johnny Mick says, absolutely, revisions are standard. What's different about this is the magnitude. Largest revision since 2009. Make that 11 likes. And yeah, I have to. So this person was ratioed by number of likes and the number of comments, which were ratioing Mr. Franklin. Although, I don't know, this is a Democrat thing. It was a male, but as a female anime like picture. Cash Loren says, if we had honest media, this would be a scandalous century, getting 1 like. True. Agree. Oh, this is heartbreaking only because it's a Corvette. Democrat Media TM says, what do we expect? Harris will make this even worse. And it's Biden and Harris sitting in a good old C4 Corvette. Is it C5? No, C4. I'm embarrassed to say. Seems like some things are entering my memory and some are escaping lately with all the things I'm memorizing for work. Nevertheless, says Biden Harris in the Corvette says, "Get in, loser. We're going to fix the economy." And of course, the Corvette's unfortunately crashed. Heartbreakingly enough, you can't see the fender flare with the air intake or the additional air intake. That would greatly significant. Yeah, you can see the. I think you see the Z06 badge. So unfortunately, it's a Z06 badge. Probably 2002 Corvette Z06, which does at 405 horsepower and only a stick shift. That's all across should come with by default. But nevertheless, it's even sadder because Corvette died. That got 24 likes. Hey Dallas says the government is lying about the CPI as well. It's been crafted so they can make it look like they want. Gain 45 likes, and true. Throughout history, the government has changed the definition of inflation multiple times, and the things that are equated into that. I mean, it is so perverse that, like, I believe food and fuel are two things that are omitted from the inflation calculation, which is ridiculous because that's two of the biggest things that affect the average American the most. Here. So not too many contrarian statements. And hopefully this, well, let's see here. Hopefully more people realize that. And it is kind of, not frustrating, it's a little fascinating. I even have friends on the Facebook, and they'll tell me that the economy is doing great because they'll show like, oh yeah, overall it's going here. And I'm like, yeah, in some areas, but the average, like small, medium-sized businesses, I mean, a lot of them are struggling. There are a couple that are doing really well, but on average, I mean, I don't think the economy is doing great. I mean, I've owned a small business during multiple presidential elections, and I mean, this says nothing on 2020 in the contrast. But let me know in the comments, are you surprised that there has been such a the biggest delta in 15 years when it comes to jobs report? Do you think it was you think it's high chance it was done intentionally just to inflate the Biden-Harris campaign and make them, or I guess now it's just a Harris-Walz campaign, but to make their party look even more successful than they were? Let me know in the comments, because as always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have General Motors recalling the Cadillac because the brakes, well, they kind of don't work. Which, granted, if you're a speed enthusiast, you just want to go as fast as possible, perhaps that's not an issue because you're not thinking of the brakes, you just want to keep going forever. But, I mean, unfortunately, perhaps a metaphor for life, everyone does come to a break in the end. And because this is an EV, well, that's going to happen more often than not. And have fun increasing that battery. But I partially digress. This comes to us thanks to USA Today. You can see the little Cadillac EV SUVs. It says, quote, General Motors recalls for loss of brakes. I don't know. To me, I understand you don't need a grill anymore because, again, it's an EV. There's not a lot of need for the intake of air to cool down the engine. I don't know. They always look so weird to me. Almost more awkward when you have those, like, there's like a fake grill that's drawn on. It's not really there, but that's beside the point. They say, quote, General Motors is recalling 21,409 of its 2023 to 2024 Cadillac Lyriq all-wheel drive vehicles. The automaker said, quote, the anti-lock brake system may activate unexpectedly and release brake pressure in the vehicle's service brake system. A release of the brake pressure can cause a loss of braking ability, which can increase the risk of a crash, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which is kind of funny. It's government speak where they go, the brakes might fail, so that does increase the risk of a crash. It's like, yes, it's technically true, but it's just hilariously awkwardly worded and common sense. They say, quote, to fix the issue, the electronic brake control module software will need to be updated through the over-the-air update or by the dealer for free. Recall notification letters are expected to be sent on September 23rd. Owners may contact Cadillac's customer service at 1-800-458-8086 or EV Concierge, which, that's pretty fancy, at 1-844-EV-Cadillac, which, I wonder how much money they had to pay for that. That's actually good marketing. I'll say that a lot because of General Motors, since the Transformers movies. That was a smart move. So again, if you want to call, again, this trying to ages me as well. Back in my day, to text people, I had to click the button multiple times. Takes me back. So again, to call 1-844-EV-Cadillac, that translates to 1-844-382-2345. Again, that's 1-844-382-2345. The recall number, or GM recall number, is N242-53471. N242-453-471. With the number of recalls GM's had throughout the company history, I can't help but think they probably really did start at recall number 1. I mean, I'm only partially kidding, but I mean, GM is not known for reliability. They used to make great fun sports cars. They killed the Camaro because they're going to make it into an EV two-door SUV, apparently. The Corvette's only automatic these days. But, I mean, they were known for being one of the most they're impressive from a manufacturing capability in terms of a large volume of units. For years, they were the number one automobile company in the world. But, I mean, they already have not a great brand reputation, especially with reliability. And especially when it comes to safety, it's definitely not good to have a braking issue. Now, it is really good for the consumer in terms of it'll be an over-the-air update. So just like Tesla, should be able to just send out that nice download the update. And the software engineers in Detroit, well, the ones that work fired, will be able to send this out shortly. But definitely not good news that you have a vehicle that may not stop and kind of just chisels away more at that brand of General Motors, which already is not a core thing known for reliability. So I gotta say, GM with this Cadillac recall, which again is supposed to be your ultra luxury, prestigious, great vehicle, gotta say that's certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. Again, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.